Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. Oh, hello, and welcome to the Thursday Night Thunder podcast with AJ and MMK. This is episode 39. I'm your host, Adam Jason Sinclair, and tonight on the most hardcore motorsports show on the internet, Mike and I will talk a little bit about the action in Daytona, review the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, get ready for the NHRA in Gainesville, as well as IndyCar and NASCAR in Phoenix, and remind you why we are your source for the latest and greatest auto racing news on the planet. Reigning ZMAX Cars Tour Pro Late Model Series champion Ben Maier joins Niece Motorsports to drive for the team in the inaugural NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at St. Petersburg Street Circuit. Maier, who hails from Annapolis, Maryland, has spent his career competing in several forms of motorsports, from his upbringing in go-karts and micro sprint cars, then later moving into Stadium Super Truck Series, driving door-to-door in short tracks and honing his craft on road courses. Maier has been touted as a noteworthy prospect due to his versatility.
The 17-year-old made his NCTS debut last June at Lime Rock Park, where he earned his best career finish of 18th place and later made a second start at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. Supporting Maier's efforts at St. Petersburg with the DQS Solutions and Staffing, JF Electric, and BOE Marine, who will each serve as co-primary sponsors on the number 4 Silverado. As a former Trans Am race winner at Worldwide Technology Raceway and Gateway, Maier was well equipped to contend in Saturday's event. Though he had never raced at St. Peter before, Maier had plenty of experience competing on the streets of Long Beach, Nashville, and Detroit.
With past experience racing alongside other Niece Motorsports drivers, Travis Pastrana and Cleves McFarland, Maier was eager to continue strengthening his rapport with the team, and he hopes to build off his momentum from Daytona. Maier is the second Cars Tour champion to be added to the Niece Motorsport driver lineup, further emphasizing the developmental capabilities of the series. He joins reigning late model stock car champion Landon Lewis, who also made his first start of the year at St. Pete as Maier's teammate. We are now pleased to welcome Ben Maier to the program. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty well. I'd like to thank you again for meeting with me briefly there this weekend, and hopefully you had a pretty good time there in St. Petersburg. I know it was a heck of a compacted schedule, but it seemed like a pretty good event.
Yeah, it was a really fun event. I thought it was a great track and well put on. It was a little hectic there in the pits for some of the truck stuff, but it was pretty cool event.
How do the Craftsman trucks compare to the Stadium Super Trucks you had some experience in before?
They definitely don't have as much body roll because the Stadium Super Trucks they jump and their bodies roll a lot and they have a lot more grip than the Stadium Super Trucks as well. They're more for fast lap times instead of crazy show cars that jump. So yeah, they're a lot different, but they both race on street courses. So I definitely got a little bit of street course experience from the Stadium Super Trucks that helped with the NASCAR truck stuff a little bit. They don't handle very similar, but they're both really cool cars.
What did you take away from the race in St. Pete?
I thought I learned just the racecraft and the truck series and how much more intense it is than stuff I've done before. Obviously, I also learned the track. I hadn't really been there before. It was pretty hot out there as well, so I learned my lesson a little bit on how much I need to drink. I did drink a lot of water before, but I think I probably could have drank a little more and probably would have been a little better off. But yeah, it was definitely a learning curve coming into the truck series, and I think that taught me a lot there at that track.
I know you mentioned that it was a little warm there, and you had some hydration issues. I know that was part of the deal with one of your teammates there. Is he doing okay?
Yeah, Tyler's all good. He was released right after the race after he was all checked out, and we've been talking since then. Done some iRacing stuff with him, so he's good.
That's good. How did your experience in the Cars Tour help you in the Truck Series?
I thought the experience in the car store was really good just for the racecraft stuff because car store is more close quarters than some of the road course stuff I've done since there's walls around you and it's except for the street courses, there's also walls around you there, but the ovals just are more intense and have more close quarters racing than some of the road course stuff I had done.
In the past, Adam Andretti, who is also competing there in the Truck Series now, has said that Trans Am is a great training platform for NASCAR. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think that's a good statement, and he he's an amazing driver, and I raced alongside him in TA2 a lot, and we were always competing with each other, and it's I think that the cars are a lot similar than I expected, a lot more similar than I expected going into the trucks. I thought the weight would make the cars feel more different, but they actually feel a lot more similar than I expected, and I think it's a great platform TA2 is for trucks on road courses, at least. Cars course is a little better for ovals, but the TA2 gets the road courses done pretty well.
What are your goals for this season?
Well, I'm doing some car store stuff as well this year, so want to get some wins in that and win the owners championship in the car. The car will be doing the full season. I won't. And then hopefully we can. A crazy goal would be to win a truck race, but a more reasonable one would be probably a couple top fives and a couple top five finishes.
Let me go ahead and throw you out to my co-host, Michael Mulalley Kapalo, and Afraid of Washington, who has some questions for you as well, sir.
So my first, my first question for you this evening: how was it? Can you describe to us how it felt to win a championship and Rookie of the Year in the Cars Tour in the same season?
Yeah, it was amazing. I thought, it was my first season racing late models. I didn't really have much experience before that. And we got a really good start to the season. I went out and won at the Cordial Speed Fest, or I think it's called the Cordial Speed Fest. It might have a different name. But it was that was an amazing race. We went out and won that for my first pro late model race. And then we got straight into the Cars Tour after that. And it was a learning curve the whole season, but we were super fast. There was a couple times that I got in some wrecks that just nothing I could really do. I got turned or something, or someone missed shift in front of me. Pretty unfortunate. And those are probably races that I could have won pretty easily as well if I just stayed alive and finished the race out. But yeah, it was a great season. I think winning the championship was just amazing, especially for my first year ever doing it.
Yeah, that's cool. And how do you handle the demands of being both a professional race car driver and a teenager?
Well, I still have to do a lot of school and stuff, so I'm always doing that at my house. They give me assignments. I do an online school, so I have teachers and stuff, and they give me assignments that I do. And I balance that with going to the gym, the GM Center. I'm in the Chevy Development Program with Josh Wise and Scott Speed and Danny Stratton and Dan Jansen. So they all coach me up and work on my mental health, and I do a bunch of sim work with them. They try and make me the best version of myself I can be. And then I go over to Niece as well in the afternoons and work there a little bit, help out whenever I can.
And what is that biggest close call moment that you managed to save on the racetrack? Like, what is that moment that you still talk about that you're just like, wow, I saved that?
I would have to think about that one. It was a pretty close call in Stadium Sewer Trucks with Cletus McFarland where we both went off a jump and he flipped right in front of me. And I had to swerve when I landed. it was at Nashville, and I came off the jump and he was just there in the middle of the track, flipped. So I had to swerve when I landed to dodge him and just barely managed to make it past him.
Gosh. And as of right now, what has been your favorite series, or because you have a very impressive resume, what has been the favorite thing or something, or your go-kart, or I seen micro sprints on the resume. What was your favorite thing to compete in thus far?
I like the Stadium Super Trucks and the Nitro Cross a lot. They were really fun events to go to. I'd say for the most favorite car I've driven is probably a TA2 car. Those cars are actually really fun to drive. But event-wise, I would have to go with Stadium Super Trucks and Nitro Cross just because of the nature around it, and there's such cool events to go to.
And my final question for you this evening, if you had the opportunity to give a piece of advice to any person looking to get involved in the sport, what advice would you give them?
I would say never give up. There's a lot of times where, I think that my career is going to come to an end, and because it's pretty hard to go out and sell yourself and find sponsorship. So there's a lot of times when I think my career is coming to an end and something comes up and pushes me along that last little bit. So always make sure to keep pushing to find what you're trying to get to.
Well, we'd like to thank you very much for coming on the show this evening. When's the next race you're going to be competing in, sir?
That'll be Nashville and Car Store. That's the next planned race. Something else might pop up, maybe like a small Miata race or something. But the next planned one is Nashville and Car Store.
And if my listeners are interested in learning more about you, where would they go for that information?
You can go to my socials. Ben Maier 67 is my socials on pretty much everything, and then I have a website called watchbenrace.com as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on again, and good luck for the rest of the year.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
Have a great night. Once again, that was Ben Maier, who races in the Niece Motorsports for the truck series. He also is racing in the Cars Tour, and you can find him every so often in the Trans Am as well. So he bounced around quite a bit, and he's having a good year, good start to the year, and hopefully he has a great season. Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner, or maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport? Contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, you deserve your 50 minutes of fame, and we'd love to hear from you. The easiest way to do that is to go to thursdaynightthunderpodcast.podbean.com. We have information for contact on the bottom of that page. Be sure to check it out.
NASCAR champion and Fox NASCAR analyst Clint Bowyer will climb back into a race car for a thrill ride in the fastest seat in sports at the Good Ranchers 250 on Saturday, March 7th at Phoenix Raceway. Bowyer will ride in the custom IndyCar Series car with a special back passenger seat, leading the field to a green for the first NTT IndyCar Series race at the 1-mile Desert Oval since 2018. The 250-lap race is part of a special NASCAR IndyCar doubleheader that weekend at Phoenix Raceway, as the Straight Talk Wireless 500 for the NASCAR Cup Series takes place Sunday, March 8th at the track. Bowyer will serve as an analyst for Fox Sports coverage of that NASCAR race.
Kansas native Bowyer joined Fox's NASCAR coverage full-time in 2021 as an analyst after a driving career that saw him win 10 Cup Series races and the 2008 NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series Championship. He drove for such prominent NASCAR teams as Richard Childress Racing, Michael Waltrip Racing, and Stuart Haas Racing. Bowyer joins a long list of celebrated IndyCar fastest seat in sports passengers as he leads the field to green in custom IndyCar Series car with a special back passenger seat. This high-speed, high-octane, supercharged thrill ride has been taken by the likes of Tom Brady, Simu Liu, John Bon Jovi, Lady Gaga, Channing Tatum, and Alex Rodriguez.
Coverage of the Good Ranchers 250 begins at 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox, Fox 1, and the IndyCar Radio Network. The NTT IndyCar Series is North America's premier open-wheel racing series, with drivers competing at speeds of 200-plus miles per hour across a thrilling and demanding set of ovals and road and street circuits. More information is available on IndyCar.com.
Team Hammer announces that the D30 will serve as the title sponsor for Tyler Scott's effort aboard the D30 M4 X-Star Suzuki GSX R750 in the 84th running of the Daytona 200. D30 is the global leader in advanced protection solutions. D30's groundbreaking armor is thin, soft, and flexible in a resting state, yet stiffens to absorb and dissipate energy on impact, allowing it to be seamlessly integrated into helmets, gloves, and other protective gear. Its industry-leading armor is utilized by partners in diverse and demanding environments, such as Formula One, NASA, the U.S. Department of Defense, and the NHL.
In this new partnership with Team Hammer, D30 joins an effort primed for Daytona success. Rising star Scott has fought his way to a podium finish in the fabled race after earning pole position in each of the past 2 seasons. In fact, Scott has never qualified off the front row at Daytona and has been a super sport frontrunner since his rookie campaign, scoring championship rankings and 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th during his time in the category. Scott is motivated to try hard to finally stand atop the podium at the Daytona 200 and win this year's Moto America Supersport Championship. Scott's GSX R750 and his rigorously tested D30 integrated RST racing suit will be prominently adorned in D30's trademark orange colorway at Daytona, commemorating a huge moment in the company's continued expansion into motorsports. Already a sponsor of IOM TT champion Mykkal Dunlop, MBE, FIM World Supersport rider Tom Boothamos, and British Superbike racer Lee Johnston, stepping up as the title sponsor of a top team in the Daytona 200 marks a significant increase in D30's motorsport presence.
Following Daytona, D30 will continue as partner of M4 X-Star Suzuki for the remainder of the Moto America season, with logos displayed on the team's bikes, suits, and helmets. The 84th Daytona 200 will take place March 5th through the 7th at Daytona National Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida.
In a sport decided in split seconds, where winning can be measured in 1,000th of an inch, consistency is key. In the NHRA Mission Foods Drag Racing Series, that consistency goes beyond what a driver does before rocketing down a 1,000-foot-long straight in less than 4 seconds at 340 miles per hour. At Rick Ware Racing RWR, consistency extends to the pair of top fuel dragsters driven by Clay Millican and Tony Schumacher, where each chassis is the same. There are no nuances between Millican's number 51 Parts Plus dragster and Schumacher's number 15 American Communications Construction dragster.
Getting to this point ahead of the season, opening Gator Nationals this weekend in Gainesville, means every driver had to try something new. For Schumacher, it meant getting accustomed to the class of chassis that Millican uses. And for Millican, it meant jettisoning an open cockpit for a closed-top canopy, a design pioneered by Schumacher and debuted by him in 2012. For Millican, embracing the canopy was practical from a safety standpoint and from a team perspective.
The canopy on RWR's top fuel dragsters mimics the canopy of an F-16 fighter jet. It is constructed from Kevlar and carbon fiber, weighs 25 pounds, and features a 3/8-inch thick ballistic polycarbonate windshield. RWR is able to offset the weight of the canopy via the fitness of its drivers. Millican weighs 142 pounds and Schumacher is 175 pounds. Pure muscle, said a grinning Schumacher.
The driver's respective weight is the only difference between RWR's 2 top fuel dragsters. This makes the job of the Oberhofer brothers, crew chiefs for Millican and Schumacher, John Oberhofer with Millican and Jim Oberhofer with Schumacher, more straightforward when it comes to tuning both cars for a series of runs through a race weekend. Schumacher and Millican tested at Gainesville February 17th through the 20th ahead of the Gator Nationals, making 11 runs apiece.
The Gator Nationals kicks off NHRA's milestone 75th season. It's a big race with drivers considering it one of the sport's majors alongside the Winter Nationals in Pomona, California, and the U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis. Millican won last year's Winter Nationals and the 2024 U.S. Nationals. He wants a Gator Nationals title to complete the Grand Slam and join his teammate.
RWR's path to Gator National victory begins Friday with 2 top fuel qualifying sessions at 2:30 p.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern, respectively. Saturday delivers 2 more qualifying sessions, along with the Wright Trailers NHRA Top Fuel All-Star Call-Out. The 2 qualifying sessions are at 12:35 p.m. and 3 p.m. respectively, while the All-Star Call-Out begins with the first round at 12:15 p.m., the semi-final round at 2:15 p.m., and the final round at 3:30 p.m. Eliminations on Sunday begin at 11 a.m. All the action can be seen live on NHRA.tv. FS1 will broadcast the All-Star Call-Out on Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. On Sunday, FS1 begins its coverage with a 2-hour qualifying show at 10 a.m., with eliminations following at noon. That's going to be another busy weekend of racing here in Florida, with a little bit of racing out there out west in Phoenix. So it should be a good weekend of racing. It was a really great weekend of racing last weekend there in St. Petersburg. Like I said, I was able to go and talk to Ben Maier briefly on Saturday. Didn't talk to him as long as I wanted to, but I did get to speak to him briefly, and I'm happy he was on the show this week. Also got a chance to speak to him with his teammates there. So with Landon Lewis, and that was kind of cool. Got to speak to him for a second as well. So hopefully they have a really good year. I know that the Niece Motorsports does move their drivers around a lot. They have a rather robust series of drivers in the truck series. It'll be interesting to see how that goes for them. All different people every week. Like he says, he's competed with Cletus McFarland before, which is kind of cool. And I'd love to have him on the show sometime in the future. Gonna try and work that out. That'll be awesome. Be great for the show, and great to speak to him and see how his perspective on racing has changed. Now he's doing a lot more of it. So that would be kind of neat. I know Cletus did have an announcement today. He's going to be racing for Richard Childress Racing in the truck series a little bit, and in the O'Reilly series a lot the next couple of years. So that'll be kind of awesome to see how that goes. I know there's people who aren't very happy about that, and other people think it's the best thing in the world. So it really depends on how his season goes with Richard Childress Racing there. It should be pretty cool. He's got a lot of support there, and I'm sure he'll do really well. He has a lot of support online, and he's done awesome things for the sport of NASCAR and other series as well. So hopefully he has a really good year. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and reach out to Nice and see if we can get him on the program as well. We have talked to Travis Pastrana here in the past, so they have a really good year too. Kind of interesting to see how their year goes. I know that they had a fairly decent finish there in St. Petersburg. Wasn't as good as they were hoping, but it was a fairly decent finish. So it was a really great race though, with Lane Riggs finishing in first place there on Saturday, and Alex Palou on Sunday. Palou is quite the driver. It really made for I won't say it wasn't entertaining, because it was, but it made for the sort of race where you could tell that Palou was going to win the entire time in the IndyCar race. He was just that good. He's that far ahead of everybody, and it was gaining a second on the field every lap for the entire event. So it was just it was something. So as far as the seating there, it was similar to what I was afraid of. There wasn't a lot of seating in the general admission section, although they have expanded in the past few years. We were able to find a spot on Sunday, which was good. It wasn't a spot that was, unfortunately, I did a little bit too much walking on Saturday, it happens, but did a little bit too much walking on Saturday, so my foot's paying for it now, but hopefully it gets better quickly. It wasn't as bad as it was before, which is awesome. It's still not a step backward, and that does suck. But 10,000 steps on Saturday in the heat and getting sweat in your foot and everything else isn't the best thing for a person who has foot issues. I would hope that they're able to add some more seating. They do have space for it, especially in places like Pioneer Park, which would be awesome if they were able to add seating there. And so that's my little 2 cents to the people of Green Savory Racing. Again, I appreciate Green Savory's cooperation with me in providing me tickets to the event, and providing Mykkal tickets to the event there in Portland last season. So that was really great of them, and I hope you will continue to work with them in the future and get a little bit different opportunities as well. So that was awesome. It's very good to have a supporter there in Green Savory, and I appreciate all the help they've given me here on this show and in previous endeavors I've had in the world of motorsports journalism. So with that, how did you get a chance to watch the racing this past weekend?
I watched a little bit this past weekend. Wait, which weekend was this? That was the St. Petersburg racing, yep. Right? Okay, yes, I did. I watched a little bit, and I have to say, well, first of all, you just said you put in 10,000 steps, and that is a lot of steps. So I imagine you probably need to chill for a little while anyway. But that was so pretty. That looked so pretty. That looked very nice. And my question to you, someone who probably seen a lot more of the event than me, though it was beautiful, but in your opinion, which series do you think put on the best show?
I think that NASCAR, the Craftsman Truck Series, put on a better race, just because it was closer. There was more action, definitely more action on the track. There were a lot of incidents there, which I expected, but they weren't as bad as I thought. I thought that originally it would have been a crash fest, and they would just blocked up the whole track. I've seen races there before that've done that, but they really keep going. They kept a really good pace, and they really get the job done on Saturday, and it brought in a lot of people. So that was good. I did not see how many people were there on Sunday, although it seemed like the crowd on Sunday was a later arriving crowd, and it seemed like they all left at the same time. So, but it was a. I hope that they bring back the truck series there next year. I know that there are rumors that I've seen online, and I can't substantiate that. I haven't reached out to people at Green Savory to try and figure it out, but I know there were rumors that said that they were planning on bringing in possibly the O'Reilly series and possibly the Cup series in the future to St. Petersburg. That would be pretty neat. It's a great track. It's very well laid out right there in downtown, right on the water. Uh, Very convenient to restaurants and lots of parking. Unfortunately, the parking gets backed up when everybody leaves at the same time, which happens. I kind of expected that. But it was really neat. It was a good event, and I'm happy we got a chance to go this year.
Do you think we could see more races in the streets? I mean, I know that there's already a few, but do you think this could become kind of like a big thing? You might
Yeah, I
see a
think
little
that
bit more.
in the '90s there was a lot of racing in the streets from IMSA and that sort of thing, and from IndyCar as well. I think that there will be a resurgence of that simply because it's better for it's better for everybody. It's better for the sport because it brings it closer to the people. It's better for the sponsors because it brings it closer to the people. It gives you something to look at, and in most cases it's better for the cities because it brings people downtown. There are some downtowns that definitely need those sort of attractions on weekends. I don't think St. Pete really does, but definitely helps them out on the race weekend. So it brings in people who don't necessarily go there, and unlike me, I don't generally travel 4 hours across the state, 3.5 hours, I suppose, is how much it was when we first got there. I don't generally travel that way, but I'd love to go back just to wander around and see the city. And I think that's what they're aiming for. I know people like Ben Candy there with NASCAR would love to have more street races. So I think that the street racing in downtown areas will definitely make a comeback. You never know how much it'll make a comeback. I think that there's always going to be permanent tracks, and they'll make up a majority of the season, especially for NASCAR. But I think street racing will have a little bit more of a resurgence in the next few years. Yes.
I think that would be really interesting. So I hope so. I've really enjoyed the little bit that we've seen.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you should. I think you should make a trip down to St. Pete. I know you've been in that area before. You were there a few years ago. So just have travel over there for the race. It's really cool. It's a good weekend.
That would be really interesting. I hope that I get the chance one day because that was really cool. And I bet it was just really cool in person. That was just so perfect on the TV. Anyway, I imagine it was really neat in person.
And the weather was good. The weather was very nice, and there were a lot of things to do. A lot of booths and that sort of stuff. A lot of cool stuff to look at. Wash your hands in the Fountain of Youth and all that. It was fun. So that was cool. If you had a chance to travel to any track in the country right now where they've got an event, where would you go?
I don't know. I don't know because there's so much. And I don't know. I don't think you use TikTok, and bless you, that's good. But I'm starting to see so much more too, like pop up on TikTok that I've never heard of. So there's a lot more racing, not necessarily in my direction, but in the country as a whole, kind of than I thought. There's a lot more racing that we really don't hear about. So I don't know because I've seen like a lot of interesting kind of stuff. Like today I was watching like side by sides or whatever, but they were on like a dirt bike track. And so that was cool. And that was an event that I guess is a pretty big event every year in California that I've never heard of. So that would be one that I think I would try to put on my calendar to catch one day. And then like a couple weeks ago, I seen some sort of like rock crawling or something, and that looks like really dangerous, but that looks really cool. So that's something I would kind of like to see in person one day. So I really don't know, because there's so much out there that I've been putting thought into it too. I want to see it all. I want to just see it all, you know. I wish there was a way that I could make it to all of this stuff. So I'm not really sure, because there's a lot out there and I just don't know. But probably like, I don't know, I'm kind of going out of my normal box a little bit, but probably something along the lines of like even maybe the trucks that our guest was racing, not the truck series, but like the stadium trucks and stuff. That would be something cool to watch. So I'm not sure, but I think I would probably have to lean more towards something outside of my normal box and have to watch something where they kind of fly through the air. But I don't know. What about you? I know that was a lot of word salad right there, but what about you?
Good question. I don't know. I've thought about it a little bit because we were planning on doing something a little bit different this year, but that just it might not work out. But we're doing a few races, and that's awesome. Hopefully, I'm able to do a few more. What I'd like to do eventually is head up to Charlotte and see the. I'd love if they brought the Roval back. Unfortunately, they're not going to have the Roval there this year because that looked cool. I'd love to do that. I'd like to go see Indianapolis one time. That would be awesome too, to see the 500 there. 'Cause that's just something that it's one of those marquee events. I've seen the Daytona 500 enough times now. That's really cool too. But to see the Indianapolis 500 at least once would be awesome. That would be a pretty cool thing.
Maybe one of our listeners, listen up, listeners. Who knows? Maybe one day you could be riding in the back seat of the two-seater around. You never know.
That would be awesome. I'd love to do that. So there you go. I did have a chance in the past to watch some of the stadium super trucks, like you said. That's always an interesting event. They used to have that at the St. Petersburg race when they first started out, and they had up until last year. They had the stadium super trucks racing there in St. Petersburg. So that was really awesome. The first year was when Robbie Gordon was out in front, and he actually won the race there. So that was cool. Last year it was Matt Brabham who took the victory in St. Pete. So Matt Brabham, who won this past weekend in the Trans Am series there in Sebring. I didn't bring that up because we're going to be covering that a little bit online in the on the blog thing. But Matt Brabham did really well last weekend in the Trans Ams. So it was again, last weekend was busy for racing here in Florida, and this weekend will be even busier with the fact that there's racing in Daytona and in Gainesville. So it's always something. The race in Daytona should be good. I know they had some events today. They had some more tomorrow, and then of course the big race on Saturday, the 200 there. So that should be really cool tonight. I believe the flat track guys ran at the flat track in Daytona. I know they're running tomorrow. So if you have a chance and you haven't seen the flat track guys run, I'd love to see that at some point too. But if you didn't get a chance to see them, they're running there at the track tomorrow. Be sure to check that out. Now tickets are still available. You can go check out the Progressive AFT American Flat Track. That would be a pretty awesome thing. And hopefully it's really good weather there. I know it's been a little toasty, like Ben Maier said. It hasn't been as toasty as it could be. It has been in past years, but it was definitely fairly humid there this weekend. So I know that affects the motorcycles as well. Last weekend they did have also another event. They had the Supercross there at the track in Daytona. Didn't get a chance to watch any of that, but that's always an interesting thing. So a lot of racing going on here in Florida still. That does start to wrap up shortly, but a lot of racing going on as the springtime approaches.
And fast. Supposedly, the groundhog saw his cute little shadow, and so I was like, dang, more winter, but I think you lied. I think you lied.
Yeah, it seems like it's getting warmer now, and that's a good thing. But it needs to rain. Um, we're way too dry here in Florida. They're talking about the all different things with the water restrictions that people don't like, and all that. The having to feed the cows oranges and everything. So just interesting because all the grass is dry and all the water around there is dry. So hopefully it rains a little bit, but hopefully it doesn't rain enough to screw anybody's plans up. And that's generally how that's the bad of it is that if it rains, somebody's got some sort of outdoor plan going on. So especially this time of year. Should be a good weekend there in the Gator Nationals, though. There wasn't much rain this past weekend, so the track will not be and the parking lots there especially will not be as much of a mud bog as they normally are, which is good. But should be a good weekend there for racing in Gainesville. Should be going pretty quick. Although, like I said, it's been getting warmer, and those cars don't appreciate the warm weather. So see how fast they are. I know they've been going way too fast, way too fast. 340 miles an hour is just insane in quarter miles, 1,000 foot there. It's just wow. So we'll see how fast they go. But it should be a really interesting weekend there in Gainesville. Um, the next event I'm planning on going to is probably in Sebring, and that'll be in about 2 weeks. Heading up there for the day, probably on Friday for the 12-hour race, and that will just be the practice and stuff before the actual race takes place on Saturday. Saturday, we'll be heading out of town. It is my birthday weekend coming up there in a few weeks, so I'm looking forward to that, and I will go ahead and report a little bit more about that on my Football Plum's Fantastic Find page as I get a little bit more details worked out in the next few days. So that should be pretty awesome as well. But should be a good weekend there in Sebring. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, it's a nice, quiet, and it's a little bit cooler. And there's no rain. That's the big thing. As long as it's not raining and it's a little bit cooler, everything's perfect. And in Sebring on a Friday, we won't have to worry about walking around quite as much because there'll be a lot more open space. And if you go on Saturday, you know it's insane there on Saturdays. So hopefully it's not that bad on Friday, and hopefully everybody has a good time. I think you should head down to the. I sent you a thing about New Smyrna Speedway. That's where you should take your kid and get started in the Power Wheel racing.
That would be so fun. That would be so fun. So cute.
And I know they've got a lot of stuff going on there, and that Power Wheel racing is definitely picking up around the country. I don't know if it's every track, but I know there's some picking up. They had it in the Orlando Speed World. They've got it now in New Smyrna Speedway. So hopefully coming to a track near you, the Power Wheel Racing Series.
I hope so. I hope so. It would just even be fun to watch. Like, it's just so adorable. How could you not want to watch it at least?
There you go. So it was kind of a. They didn't have much about that there, but they did have the midgets and the Legends cars displays there in St. Petersburg, which is kind of cool. They had some of the weird little sprint cars, the ones that are the look like the Indy cars with that are really short and the that they use in some of the really short tracks. I think they're asphalt tracks they use for those. So a lot of interesting displays there in St. Pete. So it was really fun to wander around a little bit. We didn't wander around much, just because again we walked way too much on Saturday trying to get a seat and trying to get interviews done and trying to wander around just to see everything we could on Saturday on the first day. But Sunday I looked at a little bit of the booths, and that was pretty neat.
What was your favorite meal that you had at the racetrack last weekend?
We went for that. We didn't. We had one meal at the racetrack. It was okay. We had it was like a beef sandwich thing or roast beef, but the cut of beef was not good. It was a little tough. Tasted good, but it was a little tough. We actually had a chance to go to Po Folks, which I don't know if you've heard of before. It used to be a nationwide chain. Now I think they've got like 7 locations. Originally they had like 1,000 or something, but they went there and had dinner on Saturday. That was really good. It's sort of like a home style thing, kind of like they think about Cracker Barrel, only a little bit different, but same sort of stuff there. That was awesome. We did that on Saturday, so that was cool. And I won 2 pizzas. That was the that was the fun thing there in St. Petersburg. They had a display for Flipper's Pizzeria, which is a Central Florida-based pizza place. They've got them in Orlando, they've got them in Tampa, they've got them in Altamont, all those areas around there. I think they have one in Deltona now. So actually won 2 free pizzas there. Got one large and one small. So that's always cool.
Well, you can't beat that.
No. There you go. They need to bring a Flippers down here. I know they talked about that before, but unfortunately that serve fell apart. But they need to bring a Flippers down to South Florida, and I'd definitely go there because the delivery for Flippers has always been hit or miss. But when you eat there, it's a lot better.
Flippers.
Yeah. Not a sponsor, but if they want to reach out to me, go ahead. You go to Thursday Night Thunder Podcast.podbean.com and reach out to us. We'd love to have a nice pizza sponsor for the show. There we go. Again, it was a great weekend there in St. Pete. I'm happy I got to go, and I'm looking forward to heading over there. Probably not next year, maybe in 2027, maybe 2028. It really depends on how the IndyCars change, because I know they've got a plan to upgrade the IndyCars in the next few years. So that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. In addition to upgrades, they've got some different changes they're going to be announcing for IMSA, IMSA and World Endurance and the FIA, as well as the organization that puts on the 12-hour race, whose name I can't think of right now. But they're going to work on a new formula for the GTP cars, for the hypercars. Hopefully something that unifies the series a little bit more. Right now they are fairly close, but hopefully they work out something a little bit better for both Europe and Asia and the United States soon, because that's a good thing. I know there've been some pushback about hybrids and the expansion of that in this country for the racing anyway. So hopefully they continue that, because hybrids are really awesome. I have a hybrid myself. I know Ford is planning on expanding hybrids. They're moving a little bit further away from some of the all electrics, but going to more hybrid things. So the expanding hybrids in racing is always a good thing. And I think that would be really awesome if they did that worldwide. I think that'll help out not only with the environmental impact, but with the race on Sunday, sell on Monday mantra that a lot of automakers go with. So they're going to be announcing that soon. I think that's probably in the next week or so. So hopefully get to cover that. I'll be looking for it. And if I find any more information, I'll go ahead and post that up on the Motorsports News and Views page. But if not, we'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit more in the next few weeks as soon as more information pops up. How do you feel about the little bit of controversy that there is around Cletus McFarland and his impact on NASCAR and racing in general?
You know, I'm not really sure why he's got such controversy. I mean, I guess I could understand it to a point. But what stood out to me the most about him, and it really isn't kind of race related, but sort of, I mean, it's still him. So, but when they had those, I think it was the hurricanes, or I don't know, it was something awful, and he tried to help. He tried to help, and I thought that was really neat. And I thought that was neat before I put kind of 2 and 2 together that that's Cletus McFarland. Like I didn't realize who was being so helpful until, like I said, it dawned on me who it was. So I think it's neat, and I think it keeps things interesting. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I could kind of understand kind of why people feel maybe a certain way, because I guess if you really know better, it could kind of seem like he just kind of like appeared, one day or whatever. So I could kind of see, I don't know, but I also think that he's good for the sport. I think he's good for the sport. He's got a really good following, and he, does a lot of good race car type stuff, on his own, of his own. I think it's the Freedom Factory he
Yep.
has or something like that. The Freedom Factory. So I think he's good for the sport. I think he's good for the sport, and I think it's kind of neat. So, but I think it's good for the sport. What do you think?
I agree. I think he's a character. He's an interesting guy. I think that the character of Cletus McFarland sometimes gets a little bit too much press, and the guy Garrett Mitchell doesn't get as much. But I think that's how he wants it to be. So I think that the fact that he's more involved in all sorts of motorsports. I'm not sure exactly how he got his money, but I know he does. He does a lot of great things for the community. Like you said, he's done a lot of good things for racing, expanding the Freedom Factory there in Bradenton, even expanding his the work on the Bradenton Motorsports Park right across the parking lot, the drag racing facility there that has all the World Series of Pro Mod takes place there, as well as the Night of Fire, and they've got like a Christmas event there, so where they light Christmas trees on fire as part of the drag racing thing. So he has a lot of fun with it. I think if he can bring that sort of excitement that he brings to local tracks in Bradenton, in the Bradenton area, to the entire country and bring it through NASCAR and other things, it'll be awesome for NASCAR. NASCAR definitely need more characters. They need more people who are having fun with racing, because it seems like a lot of the drivers are too corporate, and they forget that they're there to have fun. That should be the driving force behind it. People like Kyle Busch, they understand it's fun. If they're not winning, if they're not enjoying themselves, then they're definitely not having fun. It's not good for them. But there are other drivers who deserve. They go step with what the sponsors want, and they don't seem to have much personality. I think that's what racing's missing now is personality. It's people who are real people, and that's important.
I agree. And I think you just stated all of that very well. And I really agree that we do need a little bit more, I guess, characters. I don't know. But some of them, you're right. I do feel some of them take it pretty serious, and it's, I guess it's professional racing. So, okay, so there's that. But I don't know. It's still got to be a little bit of fun too.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not having fun, nobody's having fun. So, so I agree with everything that you just said. You nailed it.
Our recent guests seem to be understanding that as well. The Derek Pugh from a few weeks ago, the driver who races in the truck series and the late models, the local trucks, the fast trucks, and the late models there, as well as Ben Maier today. He seems to be he seems to enjoy what he's doing, and hopefully he has a good career as well. So there need to be more people who have fun, who enjoy what they're doing, and if they're having fun, if they're generally happy to be there, their passion for the sport is obvious and it's infectious, and people enjoy seeing them go around. They'll be invested in those guys, and that makes for a much better sport. So hopefully that's the future. We'll see how it goes.
You touched on Travis Pastrana briefly. Do you think we'll see him a little bit more in these series, or do you think he's kind of not so much as into it as Garrett Mitchell or Cletus, I guess?
Yeah, I think we'll see him a little bit, but I know he's not he may not be the oldest guy, but he's been around for a while, and he takes a beating, and I think that's why he doesn't compete quite as much as he used to. If you know, he's raced in all sorts of things. He's raced in IndyCar, he's been in NASCAR, he's been in Stadium Super Trucks, he's been in Trans Am. He's been, if anything, he's been the drifting. He's done the Formula Drift for a while. He did Nitro Cross, Rallycross, all those sorts of things. So I think that there won't be as much Pastrana because Pastrana's starting at the end. He's near the end of his career. He does it when he wants to and he has fun with it, but I don't think he'll be a regular fixture anywhere unless he wants to be.
Fair enough. He really, now that you just named all of that stuff off, what I really remember him from was Nitro Circus, and then he just started naming all that stuff off, and you're right, he's really put in his time.
Yeah, he's quite an athlete, and he's bounced around quite a bit, and I think that's some of that gets to him after a while, bouncing around that much. But I do agree he's a good thing for the sport too, but he's not he won't be a fixture. I don't think. I think he races when he wants to. He has fun with it, and he knows it's not he's not in it for the points. He's just in it for a one-off thing, and that's good. That's good too. That has to happen. Who do you think would be the what race do you think he should? Actually, let's go for this. What other races do you think Tony Stewart's going to be in this year? I know he's been in. He was at the one in Daytona. Do you think it'll be any other race? Any other NASCAR type races?
I don't know. I don't know because bless Tony Stewart. I was actually a Tony Stewart fan before I was a Joey Logano fan, by the way. But he doesn't talk very highly of NASCAR. He doesn't talk very highly at all that I've heard, at least lately anyway, or the last little bits that I've heard. He doesn't sound like that spark is really there for NASCAR anymore. So I'm not sure.
I think he might show up for the Brickyard 400 because he loves Indianapolis. I think that would be cool, and I understand his issues with NASCAR. If you read any of the stuff that came up in the lawsuit, there the NASCAR people aren't very keen on him either. Not only the current people, a couple of the current people, but definitely some of the past people who've been ushered out of the sport. So I think he might show up for the Brickyard 400. That'd be cool to see him there. I hope he has a really good year in Top Fuel. I know he's not going to be racing for his own team, but he'll be doing racing for other teams this year in Top Fuel. So hopefully he has a good weekend in Gainesville. That'll be cool to see.
Yeah, I think he's really, I don't know how to word this, but he's kind of been like a staple lately, I feel, for the NHRA. And I think because he was so successful and interesting, he kept it real interesting in NASCAR. And anyway, so I don't know. I in my personal opinion, I kind of feel like he's been a bit of a staple for the NHRA. I feel like he's been a staple.
Yeah, I think he's done really well there, and hopefully they have a good year. I know the NHRA has had issues. They've had lots of issues with the fact that their coverage isn't as good as it used to be. Their fields aren't as big as they used to be, and the sponsors aren't as big as they used to be. Heck, if you look at the IndyCar series and the sponsors that were there, a lot of those sponsors are related, and that's not the best thing for fields when a lot of the companies that sponsor are the same company that sponsor all different teams. That's happened in NASCAR before too, where a lot of things are interconnected. So sponsorship is difficult, and I think that the NHRA, IndyCar, and I'm sure NASCAR to a certain extent, they all have that same issue, and that's always been an issue. But hopefully they're able to work it out, and hopefully it all comes together for them.
Yeah, I hope so.
Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder by visiting facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. Listen to previous episodes of the show at Thursday Night Thunder Podcast.podbean.com, on Podchaser, on iHeartRadio, Boomplay, Spotify, Player FM. I know a lot of you have been listening from Apple lately, and I appreciate that. As well as by going to YouTube, youtube.com/ForBorplums, FABORPLUMBS. If you'd like to support the show, be sure to check out the fan club feature on Podbean app. None of you have lately, so I'd really appreciate that. So if you go to facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder, at the top of the page, there's a lot of pinned information there. One of the big pins is the information about the Facebook feature, the fan club feature of the Podbean app. Be sure to check that out. I also invite you to check out my racing news site at motorsportsnewsandviews.wordpress.com. That information there, a lot of that was posted this past week about the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, both the OnlyFans 250 as well as the Grand Prix itself. I'm also going to be posting some information about some of the other winners, as well as the winners of Sebring there for the Trans Am Series, as well as a little bit of stuff about the NHRA. That'll be posted in the next few days. I'm not going to be in town this weekend, so I'm not going to be posting anything there this weekend, but it will be posted the next few days. Be sure to check it out. In addition, if you're a fan of South Florida and who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information about our Slice of Paradise and my travel blog for Warplum's Fantastic Finds. There's been a lot of updates there recently. Be sure to check that out. You can be found on Facebook at For Warplum's Fantastic Finds, on X at For Warplums, FABRPLUMBS, or at PB Happening. You can find that easier there. And by heading to For Warplum's Fantastic Finds.wordpress.com.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing.
Have a great night. Thanks again.